So now let's talk about quotation marks, escapes, and text formatting in Python. This is a pretty simple subject, but it's really important that you understand, especially in the beginning. So the first thing that we need to take a look at is quotation marks when we are using strings. So there are double quotation marks and there are single quotation marks. Whether or not you use a double or single quotation mark on its own doesn't matter, but what matters is any additional quotation marks that are going to be inside the string itself. So remember, whenever you're dealing with a programming language, the programming language has no idea what you want to do. It doesn't understand, it only takes directions. And so when you feed Python a string, the way a Python knows where the string opens and where the string closes is by having either the single or double quotation marks. So if you look here at this variable called double, we open with a double quotation mark and we close with a double quotation mark, so it knows everything in between is the value of that string. If we look here at single, we open with a single quotation mark and we close with a single quotation mark, so it knows everything in between is part of the string. Now the important thing to understand here though is when you open with a double quotation mark, basically it's going to keep going until it sees another double quotation mark. So if you try to put a double quotation mark in here, you're going to run into problems. Let me just show this to you really quickly. So again, right here, double quotation mark, you can't, single quotation mark, use a single quotation mark here, double quotation mark. So this is an entire string, we're going to print out that entire string. Here, we're going to use single quotation mark, I say, double quotation mark, hello world, close double quotation mark, and then single quotation mark. So basically, it opens here, closes here, opens here, closes here. So when we print these out, we should be able to see everything fine. So I go to run this script. You can't use a single quotation mark here. That works fine. I say hello world, and that is within double quotation marks. Now you're sitting here and you're like, what does this really mean? Well, what I want you to understand is, let's say we go down here and do this, right? So here, we're using a double quotation mark. So we're opening with a double quotation mark and we're closing with a double quotation mark. And now all of a sudden, you start seeing weird stuff in your IDE. And this is an important reason for using IDEs, because you start to get these visual references back that, uh-oh, maybe there's a problem, right? This looks fine, this looks weird. The reason is because it opens with a double quotation mark, and then again, it closes the next time it sees a double quotation mark, right? Which is there. Which then means all of this is essentially gobbledygook to it, right? So basically, if I try to run this now, we are going to see a failure on line 2. So it says file, blah, blah, line 2, single equals, I say hello world, and it says there's some kind of weird invalid syntax there, right? So basically, it opens with either a single or double, and then it closes the next time it sees one of those, right? And so that's where here, we could do this. We could do single quotation marks inside, right? I say single quotation mark, hello world, single quotation mark, double quotation mark. And if we run that, that is going to work fine. And so this is just one of those things to be thinking about. Now, if you're going to be writing things out to the command prompt, to the terminal, the single quotation mark will come up a lot, right? You can't. Right? If you do that kind of thing, that might run into issues here. The double quotation marks will run you into issues when you start printing out to HTML and CSS. So one of the real values of Python is you can dynamically write HTML and CSS from your Python script. And so one of the things, right, when you do h1 style equals and whatever the style is, that's where you're going to start having double quotation marks and single quotation marks coming into issues. So these are some of the kinds of things to think about. Generally, when you're looking at it, you're going to use single quotation marks. Since normally when you use HTML and CSS, you use double quotation marks there. Most of the time, when people are writing in Python, what they'll do is they will simply write this as a single quotation mark. So this is going to be basically how it normally looks. So this is what we're talking about with double and single quotation marks, and this is why it's important. Now sometimes you're going to get into the insanity of quotation marks. You're going to need a single here, you're going to need a double here, you're going to need a single here, a couple of doubles over here, 3 singles over here, and it's just going to make your brain melt. So trying to nest the quotation marks might not necessarily work for you, or there might be styling issues, that type of thing. There's a reason why you might not want to change between the different quotation marks, and that's where you can use an escape, right? So basically the backslash is what is called an escape, and what the escape does is it escapes the next character from being read by Python, right? So when Python is reading this, is looking for specific characters, again, such as the single or double quotation marks or other characters we'll talk about in other classes, and whenever it sees one of those special characters, that then triggers Python to do something, right? But sometimes you don't want Python to do anything. Sometimes a character is just a character, and you want Python to deal with it like it's a character. And that's why we have escapes, right? So if you notice here, it's a single quotation mark and closed with a single quotation mark, but then we've got single quotation marks inside. Well, what we do is we escape out of them. Can escape the single quotation mark T. Use a single escape, single quotation mark, here. So basically what we're telling Python is treat this character just like an ASCII character, don't do anything else with it, and basically run it like normal. So if we then run this particular script, again, you're going to see that it runs completely normally. We do not run into any errors because we are escaping out of these single quotation marks. This is all an escape character is, and it's something you might use a lot in Python. Once you start doing more complicated tasks, like there are times when you have to print out, again, these special types of characters onto the screen or to somewhere, and you don't want Python to interpret them as some kind of argument for it to do. And so that's basically why you use the escape, and all the escape is you put a backslash before the character that Python is going to read, and that says that character is just a character. The next thing to look at in this particular session is text formatting using /n or /t. So whenever you're going to be writing out to the screen, so we've got the command line and we're writing out to the command line screen, or we're writing out to an ASCII text file, just a normal kind of text file, sometimes we need to add a little bit of formatting. Now we're dealing with ASCII, we're dealing with basic text, so there's not a lot of formatting we can do. So basically the formatting options we have are next line, so /n will put something on the next line, or /t is a tab. So if you ever use like a command line utility and everything kind of looks like a table, it kind of looks like a spreadsheet when it shows up on the page, basically they are using tabs in order to make sure everything aligns up like that. On the other hand, if you want things to be on multiple lines, that's where you can use /n, and basically then the next things will go on to those different lines. So here we have an example of a /n. So we have a variable message, and its value is a one-line string. But we want this one line to actually show up on multiple lines when we print it out on the screen. So we do hello /n, so \n, that'll be next line. This is a message /n, next line from Eli. So this is how we're actually inputting this, again, as a variable value. We are now going to print out this variable value. And when we do, we can see, hello, next line, this is a message, next line from Eli. So that's how the /n, the next line character, works. Now let's look at the /t, so essentially a tab, right? So imagine we're trying to lay things out on the page as if it's like a spreadsheet or if it's like an HTML table. We want things relatively easy to be able to read. So in this example, we're going to be using a /t. So here we're going to create a header. So this will be the top line that goes above the records below. And so we're going to say name, so the person's name, /t age, /t size. So it's just going to say name, tab, age, tab, size. And then under this, we're going to have one student, but this could be a whole list of students that we're going to be printing out. And it says Bob for the name, /t, age 12, /t large. So Bob, tab 12, tab large, right? Then we go to print this out. we get something that looks like this. And so you notice this formatting makes it relatively easy to read. So name, age, size, Bob, 12 large. So I know what these values are supposed to be, and it's all basically in line, so it's very easy to read. So that's what we're talking about with a /T. So that gives you a basic overview of quotation marks, escapes, and text formatting when you're going to be writing strings, when you're going to be writing things with Python. This is all very simple. If you are confused at all, don't worry. You're going to be doing this over and over and over and over again throughout this entire series. The biggest issue that you're going to run into is this whole single and double quotation mark thing. This will cause you the most frustration, but don't worry, you will get errors based off of this. It will tell you approximately what line the error is on, and then you get to go there and go, oh, and figure out the whole single and double quotation mark thing. So anyways, one of those relatively simple concepts, but you do have to understand this.